for. So yeah, I agree. I like FT8, but JS8 is better in my opinion, due to the fact that you can have the keyboard to keyboard conversation. It's not just a slam bam, thank you ma'am kind of thing. It's an actual conversation, or can be. And the other thing is, I'm an MCOM guy. I believe in amateur radio for emergencies, for emergency usage. Always have been. And the messaging system in JS8 is just amazes me, the 3 different ways of doing messages. So it caught my eye pretty early on. I was not an early adopter on it. I think I jumped in at about it was right before it went to 2.0, and so there's been a lot done with it. But yeah, I agree, and I'm happy that we have one or more from Australia on here, because as I was telling these other folks, that's the reason we picked this time of day. That's how we settled on this time of day. Was it wasn't terribly awful for you folks down under. It's early afternoon or whatever. So that works for me. All right, well, we're well past getting started time, and I appreciate Andrew starting us off there. So I just, to try to get some structure into this instead, I mean, it's just kind of a shoot the breeze, drag chew, whatever you want to do, it's fine with me. But I have some questions I just want to pose just to see where we're all at. It looks like everybody here is pretty well experienced on this, but is there anybody here that either hasn't downloaded or has not tried JS8Call yet, and you're just thinking about it? I doubt that that's the case, but I needed to ask. I've done most of the talking especially the first couple of sessions, and that's fine. I'll talk if you let me run, man. I'll hold on, but I would like to hear more from you folks. So if anybody's got any specialty, I mean, something about JS8 that you really like, if anybody wants to share something that you really like about JS8, or if you have a pet peeve, and I've got a couple of those, but if there's anything you'd like to share, anybody?
Yeah, I've got something.
Rob, you're muted.
Somebody said they have something.
Yes, I believe that was Rob.
No, it was me, Carson, VA3OSO.
Oh, Carson. Okay. All right. Go ahead, Carson. Rob's trying to fix his audio there.
Okay. Yeah. I just wanted to kind of introduce myself. Carson, VA3OSO. I'm from Ontario, Canada. Where I'm at with my involvement with JS8Call is I was actually one of the first people to use the program maybe 5 years ago. Jordan was in this Facebook group that I was in called Portable QRP. Oh gosh, what is it called again? I forget. Portable Digital QRP. So the program started in this group, which I was in. So I was able to use the program from the very beginning. And actually, I think I probably influenced how the program was developed. I really pushed for the inclusion for the APRS involvement, like being able to send your location and then also be able to send any sort of APRS message, because I always wanted to send an email over the radio. And I know WinLink is a thing, but yeah, it was, I spent about 3 years on JS8, having my station 24/7 on JS8. And now I just use it basically for portable use, but I love JS8 for fun. I know a lot of people like the MCOM aspect, but it's just a great digital mode for amateur radio experimentation and just having fun. And yeah, I love it, and I'm gonna continue to use it. So yeah, I'm here tonight, and I want to share whatever your experiences are too, and I'm glad to be here.
All right. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. I was, I've read through of course, Jordan posted the history of the program in his user manual, vendor manual, whatever you want to call it, but user guide. So I read through that with quite some interest, and in the presentations that I've done in teaching others how to use this, I point that out at the especially the larger milestones going through there. His conversation with the FT8 fellows and those kinds of things, and how it kind of took its own direction from there. And so yeah, I 100% agree. As I said, I was not an early adopter. I didn't even hear about it until it was at 1 point something, and so I gave it a try fairly early, but was not part of any beta testing or anything. But I just really liked it the whole time. So it's on every day. I use it every day, and since I'm not in Texas races now, I don't use it for MCOM as much as we did then. But I still, every time I get on, I do I do the queries to see who can hear whom and what the grid is and that kind of stuff. If I do need to relay some messages somewhere, that's a really nice feature that I can reach somebody that can't hear me and I can't hear them. So keep that. Also, tooting my own horn, I'm going to go the third week of March. I'm going up to a state park about 3 hours north of me up here in Texas, and I'm going to do a 4-day marathon park activation, and do the regular shift and late shift both, and it's going to be 100% digital, and JS8 is going to be my primary digital mode that I want to do. I may throw some FT8 in there because a lot of people do, but it's primarily going to be JS8Call, and then I want to try out some things like PSK31 and some RTTY just to see if I can activate a park on those. So anyway, that's where I'm at with JS8. Anyone else?
What I was trying to say when I was muted, I had my best ham radio day ever yesterday.
Really?
Yeah, well, you have to understand, I haven't done digital until June, when I bought a couple QDX kits, bought one for my brother and one for myself. And up to that point, my only digital mode was CW. And don't get me wrong, I love CW, but this mode is without a doubt the coolest mode. So yesterday I had my first radio teletype communication, my first PSK31 communication, got on to JS8, logged into my first JS8 net, my first Q&I on digital. Had a great time talking with the guys from the Wireless Society of Southern Maine. And it turns out it was their maiden amateur radio net using JS8. And what these guys are trying to do is figure out how they're going to be able to tie in their, I guess they do the equivalent of a Skywarn. They don't call it that, but they do that, and they're trying to connect it in with races. So I might point them to you there, Wayne. Maybe you have some to help them. Again, they're not even sure when they're going to have their next net, but I told them to by all means, ping me and let me know on JS8 when it's going to be, and I'll be there. So I just had a great day yesterday. And the band, 40-meter band, was open so wide yesterday. I don't use more than 3 watts. I was talking all over the eastern seaboard. I got contacts out as far as Texas. I might have been able to see you yesterday, Wayne, if I'd looked for you. So anyway, just wanted to share that really had a good time. I tried using FT8, and FT8 was really exciting until I had all the 48 contiguous states except for New Hampshire. And New Hampshire isn't far from New York, and I can't get them. So back to y'all.
All right. Thanks, Rob. Yeah, I agree. I've got I could do a worked all states, except I don't have Vermont, and I don't know why. I've just not seen anybody on from Vermont. Well, I did a couple of times on FT8 and tried to make contact. It just that's my only one. I've got Hawaii, I've got all the others, Alaska and so forth. But
Set
yeah,
up JT alert.
Say again.
Set up JT alert and just have it ping you when it comes on.
Right. Yes. Yeah. I need to do that. Well, what is that? Ham alerts. I tried ham alerts because I've got some call signs that I had looked up in Vermont, and I put them on ham alert, and that comes across on my phone, but they never popped up. So I don't know if I just picked the wrong people or what,
But
but
that's how I got Worktall States. I just set up my station. I had it sit there and listen. And when a station, like when Hawaii came on, it had it beep, and then I went and tried to get it. So
I will have to give that a try. 'Cause I've not tried that. I use Grid Tracker when I do use any of the WSJTX stuff, but yeah, I haven't tried that yet. So we'll get there. I've had similar experiences. I mean, JS8's my primary. I will use bar AC. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that or not. I do use it from time to time, but I actually have more fun running things like Thor or Contestia or Livia, some of those, all the old ones. And then the Hellschreiber mode was developed in 1929. I mean, that was digital before there was digital, right? So, and we're still doing that. Well, they do one on Friday nights also on 80 meters, and I've not been able to pick anybody up on that one, but I think the net control for that is somewhere in Ohio, I believe, but I've not been able to take part. But the 40 meter on Thursday nights, pretty regular on there. So it's all digital's fun, just in general. If it's a digital mode, I'm good with it. But JS8's at the top of my list. So all right, anyone else?
Well, I have to say that I'm basically 100% digital, mostly because I live in an area where they don't allow you to put up antennas. So my transmit antenna is in the attic. And that forces me to run low power. And you can't do sideband. You can't do phone with low power, at least not any decent conversation.
Yeah, no,
I started back with FSQ, Fast Simple QSO, which is essentially the forerunner for JS8Call. In fact, JS8Call is primarily sort of patterned on FSQ. FSQ was one of the modes also that eventually found its way into FLDigi. And for quite a few years, we had a whole bunch of us that were mostly on 40 meters on FSQ, just chatting back and forth. And then eventually the sun just didn't cooperate any longer. And even FSQ, as good as it was, just wouldn't get through. And then Jordan came along with JS8Call, and it just picked up right where FSQ left off. And there's a bunch of us now that we're on 80, 40, 30, 10, and so on, having a good time. We hang out most of the time. So I kind of go back to with JS8Call to before version 1. I think maybe Carson beat me out, but not by much. And I have to say that I did start off with WSJTX and JT65 and JT9. And I got, basically all the continents, all the states, all the provinces, everything in pretty short time, because JT9, pardon me, was so sensitive. It would go down to -28. However, it's a bit like watching paint dry. The colors are lovely, but it sure as heck gets boring real fast.
Yes, sir. Running JS8 in slow mode is almost that way, but at least you can get your message through. So yeah,
you can try slow hell.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I've done that. And well, in Olivia, I don't know, recently within the last few days, I had a conversation with a person in Washington State, which is the way my infed half wave is pointed. Washington State is a challenge for me signal wise. They're right at the edge of a null on my infed half wave. But we were doing it was on Olivia, 8250. And I couldn't even see a signal in the waterfall. I couldn't see it, but it was coming through. I wasn't getting any errors. It was just amazing. It was almost as good as JS8. So
yeah, just about as slow too.
Just about as slow. Yeah, it wasn't a speedy mode, but yeah, we had quite a conversation. It was good.
I did something here recently that I really benefited me. I don't heat all of the areas of the house at the same time. So I don't heat the shack during the day. So I wanted to run the Shack computer remotely from my office computer. Well, I use Linux exclusively. And I tried 10 different variations of stuff. I'll post it in the chat, all the things I tried. I discovered a thing called No Machine, NOMACHINE. It's on Windows, Mac, Linux. It'll work on an iPhone, it'll work on Android, and you can basically access the desktop on any device you want using that. So I'll post something in the chat about that.
Yeah, yes, please do. And when Zoom ends, when we end the meeting here, I get a copy of the video that's going on. I mean, we're recording a video. There's also a separate audio track. And then I also get copies or a copy of the chat. So anything goes on in there, I can save that. And I'd be happy to post that on, if anybody wants that, on like Groups.io, or I can email it to you or whatever. So, because there's a lot of times there's good information folks are posting in the chat.
Information here. Anyone can save the chat. If you get into the chat and you look over to the far right side, there's 3 dots. If you click on those, it gives you an opportunity to save the chat. It'll save the whole chat session in your documents folder, and you can look at it later.
Yeah, yes, sir. That's very true. I typically did that when we were, because our Texas Racies group, the head office in Austin at the state capitol up there, would post that. But early on, when COVID first hit, they were conducting the Zoom meetings, and they weren't saving that, or wasn't making it available. So I kind of did the same thing. It's like, oh, by the way, you can save it yourself if you want it. So yeah, good. That's good. A good point. Thank you. There's been a lot of good discussions. Anybody got a pet peeve about JS8? Something about JS8 that they really would like to get off their chest?
I've got a pretty big one.
Okay.
Yeah, this recent thing where people are saying in the forums that you can't make a contact with JS8. I don't, like, do they not understand that their system is compromised? Everyone who's saying that is just has a compromised antenna or a compromised location, and I don't understand why they don't see that. Yeah, it's not a huge pet peeve, but yeah, I have no problems making contacts. But yeah, I hear a lot of that that you can't make a contact on JS8.
Yeah, I tend to agree. There's some on there that I guess it's like this. It's a forum, and it's there to vent, I guess. But you're right. I've heard a lot or seen a lot posted on there.
Just take a look at your screen right now on the left, right?
Yeah, exactly.
There's 11,512 people doing heartbeats. One guy does a CQ, and nobody's calling him back.
Yep, nobody calls back. Although right? What I've noticed is,
hang on. Let's do an experiment. Call CQ or yeah, call CQ right now. Let's see if we can get a contact on the air.
I
was going to say, let me continue my
you go ahead.
My statement. So there's a lot of people that don't do anything but heartbeats, and there's a lot of people that do CQs, but because I'm only transmitting 3 watts, I don't get back to all of them, right? But right. I will say that I have been very successful in making QSOs, but you have to be very patient, because a couple of weeks ago, I gave an operating tip. What I do now, when somebody calls CQ, I'll type your SNR and put it their SNR, hit enter, and then type more, so that it gets out on the very next, or at most the second transmit window after that. What a lot of people will do is they'll sit there and they'll type a 2-paragraph missive and then hit enter. By that time, the guy's given up on you. Right?
Yep. I agree. There's been many times where somebody calls CQ, and I'm watching a video or something like that. I'll look up at the screen and see that a minute and a half ago 2 minutes ago, they call CQ, and I try to respond to it and get nothing back. Now, that either tells me that they've moved on or that they're not hearing me. It's very likely going to be one of those two. But
Yeah.
that happens more frequently than actually getting an immediate response. And I understand that. I mean, if it was an emergency, I wouldn't be using this.
Actually, Wayne gave me a good tip, I think a couple weeks ago. He says, first thing you do is you hit them with an SNR question.
Yep.
Right. And if they're hearing you, they'll respond and tell you what your signal noise ratio is to him. And then I'll send, okay, hey, response to your CQ.
Yeah,
And-
which
and
is which brings up a point. When you're sending out CQs, turn on the ability to respond automatically. Turn on your auto response. That way, if you send out a CQ and somebody probes you for a signal and noise, you'll respond to them, and then you can carry on.
Right.
Yeah.
Right there. That enable auto reply.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree. I keep all four of these on always.
Now, did you know that you can turn that on by clicking the blue button on the top right?
Yes. Yep. You can do it up here. And you can also enable and disable in the settings. But
Yep.
but yeah.
Yeah, I'll quite often turn off heartbeat responses, but I'll leave on auto response. I'll turn heartbeat back on if I happen to be sitting in front of the computer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
There's
and heartbeat is automatically turned off if you select a station on the right hand side, so you're directed to a station. Then
Yeah,
the
I also
heartbeats
tend
are
to-
automatically turned off.
Yeah, and one of my problems is too often
Yeah,
I
that
forget
one.
to turn off. I forget to deselect. One of the things that would be really nice is to be able to have a timer for how long you leave someone selected and you're not doing anything on the keyboard. So basically, it should be an activity timeout so that if you haven't talked to somebody in a certain amount of time that you can set, it deselects.
Yeah, similar to the one I set my it pops up with a little message window. Hey, you haven't been active for like 180 minutes, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a place where you can set that. What was it? Networking and auto reply, maybe? No, there it is. Yeah. Nope. That's not it. Go over to networking and auto reply.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Working, let's see.
Right there. Nope, that's not it.
Yeah, I have to say
Yeah,
that I've never
I
had
have
any
time.
Yeah,
difficulty.
there it is. Yeah. So something like that, but you're selected and you haven't been talking to the guy for 30 minutes or something like that, auto deselect it.
That would assist me a lot, because a lot of times I will highlight somebody and ask what their grid is, or ask for who they're hearing or something like that. Again, for the MCOM purposes. And then I'll get busy doing something else here and forget all about it. And the next thing I know, I look up here and I'm still not sending heartbeats. I'm not doing any of that because I
Yeah,
still.
you're not doing any auto responses either.
Oh, yeah, exactly. So because something like that would be highly beneficial. That's a good suggestion.
But I have to say that I've never had any difficulty finding somebody to talk to within certainly 15 minutes, half an hour, if I want to talk to someone.
Right. And
I think a lot of the guys who are on this mode are former CW guys like me. And you're used to calling CQ, and then you wait for 30 seconds, and if somebody hasn't come back, you call CQ again. And it don't work that way on mode. It just don't work that way.
Yeah, you're right.
And so I've had to learn great patience.
And that's kind of what it's all about, right? I mean, it's a hobby. We should be having fun. So if we're frustrating ourselves, we need to probably take a step.
How does that auto work when there's two stations responding to your CQ?
I had that happen yesterday. I did. I got one guy, and I started to respond to him. And while I was typing the response, I got another guy. So I finished the response to the guy I was talking to, and then I typed the word break, and then I typed the other guy's call sign. I said, "Hey, stand by. Let me I'll get to you shortly. And I went on with my thing. And when I came back like maybe 5 minutes later and the guy was long gone, but at least, you know, that's how I tried to handle it. Yeah, I'm acknowledging your call. Bear with me. I'm responding to this other CQ first, the other response first.
That's how to do it.
Yep. I do very similar, very similar thing. And I had that again within the last probably 2 or 3 days. I was talking to somebody else wanted to ask me a question and they didn't notice that I was in a QSO with somebody else. So at the end of what I was saying to this other fellow, I just said, I listed his, typed his call sign. I said, stand by, I'll be with you shortly or something to that effect. And it worked. I mean, he was actually watching our conversation. So I don't know if I'm sure probably all here.
Another suggestion might be if you could create like an @QSO or something like that, but put in a couple of call signs, comma separated, and have a 3-way or a 4-way conversation, like a mini net, if you would. That would be cool.
Yep. And you can
An impromptu mini net.
You can sort of do that. I mean, as far as if you go to you can type in, obviously, you know, that you can put in your own group call. And so you set up whatever you want, as long as the other people that you want to have that little mini net with has that same group call. In fact, I was going to suggest to you all, if you would consider putting an @JS8.
Oh, okay.
And my purpose in asking that is from time to time, I'll throw out a signal report request and just see who's on. I mean, it's no big deal, but that would be awesome. But what I was going to say was, you know, you select the group call and then go ahead and type whatever you want to type. And that's going to go out everybody that's got that group call on set in their software. It's going to go out to them and they'll see that. Now, they can also highlight that group call and respond so that everybody with that group call is going to hear their response. But if it's something that they would prefer to just talk to you about, then they can come down here and select you and send the message just to you. Now, obviously, there's nothing secret about any of this. Anybody can listen to any conversation or watch any conversation on here, but that's the way we did it with our District 21 races down here. I had a District D21 races group call, and so I could just send a message out to there, and everybody had it up and running would get that message, and then anybody wanted to respond to the group and say, yeah, we're going to set up over here, everybody needs to know this, they could send it back up to that group call. But if they wanted to respond just to me, they would come down, highlight my call sign and respond just to me on whatever it was. So you can kind of do that, and it's also really easy to if you go find a clear frequency, a couple of kilohertz up or down, and then just set a custom frequency like this and come in and type in what you want. And as long as everybody knows to go to that frequency, you know, if you have that pre-planned or whatever, you just punch that in and go and do your conversation. And of course, once you leave that, then it goes away. If you want that frequency to stay, then you got to take a different route to make it stay in there.
Yeah.
Could you kind of go through that?
I'm sorry,
with
I
the
thought I
reader?
read somewhere in the documentation that you could do something like type multiple call signs in a one of those group name things. I'd have to look that up again. Maybe you can do something like that.
Well, I don't know about, I mean, you can add the actual group call, and then there's some funky things you can do with the @group call and then do message forwarding and stuff back and forth. I played with that a little bit.
I have to think about that.
And somebody wanted me to go through something now. Say that again.
Yes. Could you do the Reader's Digest version of how you'd convert a multiple way QSO into a group call QSO? Just kind of a step-by-step simple version of that.
Well,
or maybe that would be better if you'd put it in the chat.
Let me give that some thought, because I could probably just do a video and post that at some point in the near future and just run through a video of how that done. I've got OSB Studio on here, so I could just record a screen session and run through that. But essentially, just for now, I've got JS8 Zoom on here, and I put this on just for like folks that's on here tonight. If you add that to your, just open your settings and excuse me, open your settings and go to your call sign groups and just put a comma after whatever, and then put in at JS8 Zoom. And so that we can essentially do that. Of course, it's going to rely on propagation and so on and so on. But if I wanted to send a message out to all you folks, and Andrew, it might be a struggle to get it to Australia, but that would be really good propagation. I'd love that. But so anyway, if I want to send a message out to everybody that has this in their group call, I can just highlight it, just like all call. I can just highlight that group call and come down and type my message. And if I can spell. And that'll, everybody that has this group call in, that will go out to them. Now, of all of the people that have this, let's say there's 10 people that have this group call on their system, which might be optimistic, but hey, you know, a person can dream. But
You're an internet star, Pat.
if
I should call my dog.
oh, okay.
Patches is an internet star.
Nice. I love dogs. I love all dogs. So anyway, everybody that has this JSA Zoom would get this message. They would see the hello everyone message. Now, if they wanted to respond and go, well, hey, back or something, they could highlight this group call and type that, and then myself and everyone else that has that group call would get that message. However, if you had this group call and you received my message, but you wanted to say something not necessarily private, but something that everybody doesn't need to be concerned with, you would just come down here on your list and find my call sign. And of course, I'm not on my list, but anyway, and then go ahead and type normally or send a message or whatever. So that's essentially it. And you can make as many group calls as you want. The only rule that I'm aware of on this is it's limited to 9 characters, including the @ symbol. So you know, you want to make sure, because it'll just truncate at 9 characters. But if it's longer than that, these are different ones that I've seen posted. Other people have had posted. I came up with this one, but there is already an at POTA group. Groups.io, there was a group of individuals that talked about the lack of ability to make QSOs and this kind of thing, and so they decided amongst themselves a group call called at QSO. And it actually, I think it probably worked pretty well the first couple of weeks that they used it, but I only get 1 or 2. I'll just throw a signal request out. I usually only get 1 or 2 on this now, so I don't know if it's just died out or if I'm not hitting the right time of day and night, or day and week and whatever. But normally there's only 1 or 2 people now, and the idea behind that was that anybody that had this group call on there they had it on there because they want to make QSOs, and I understand. I mean, it makes sense, but it didn't. It got used for a while and then it didn't. So, and it looks like
Yeah, we don't need it.
Oh yeah, there you go. You got 2 guys responded to it.
excellent. Well, I've talked to Weasel many times. I'm not familiar with this one, but he's not terribly far away. Got a +1 on it. So yeah, and so there you go. Those guys are sitting there. They want to have a QSO, and I know that because they have that group call. So, and that's kind of what I mean. You could do it for MCOM. You could do it for the Skywarn thing you was talking about earlier, or the thing that's like Skywarn.
Looks like K&6 Mock wants to talk to you there, Wayne.
Yep, he's telling me some stuff.
What is up?
What is up?
My weight, the inverse of my IQ. Oh,
Well, let's see. There we go. Well, I'm gonna do this thing. I'm gonna go ahead and jump just land right on top of where he's transmitting. I don't have to do, I mean, obviously we know you don't have to do this. A lot of times I do just to,
I'll do it for the real weak stations.
yes, if I can just barely see it on the waterfall, I will definitely go there. In fact, I'll come over here to control and come down here and turn on my filters and just focus right in on that. So the software is not what
His message is done.
had a few missing frames there. He's in Chico, California.
If you type AGN ? It'll resend automatically.
Yeah.
And then somebody else started transmitting on top of him. Make sure we're clear.
I've found that it often copes with coincidental transmissions quite well and decodes both of them.
Yes, if there's just a little bit of separation, I mean, just a few hertz, it'll pick them
Even a
both
few
out.
hertz, yeah.
Yeah, it definitely will, but it really depends. It's funny. Sometimes you've probably seen this too, where you'll be visualizing this strong signal and it won't decode it.
Right. Yes, exactly. And I was just looking here, I'm doing 50 watts right now. So let's say I'm doing 50 watts and whoever's walking over the top
Okay, so yeah.
doing 100.
So where are you? I'm in Chico, California. Okay, cool. Yeah, that AGN function works really cool. He doesn't have to retype it. It just,
Yeah, if you haven't used that AGN, the other station just automatically resends without user input.
yeah, the guy who came up with this software has really done a fantastic job with it.
Oh,
in
the
my
other guy's there
understanding.
again.
Question. On the AGN, do you have to have a call sign selected, or can it be like an all call thing?
No, it wants to be directed to the person. Generally use that when you're in a QSO and you drop a couple blocks and you can't figure out what he was saying in the middle. So you just hit the AGN. You don't really want to.
It'll be a directed call.
Paragraph missive. That's not good. But yeah, it will automatically resend his last full message. I don't know if it's smart enough to skip over the pieces that you already got. But like I said, if the guy sent me a full paragraph message and I dropped a frame in the middle, I'll type him again without the question mark, all after blah, all before blah, and have him just resend the parts that I missed.
No, it just sends the last transmission. It doesn't know what you didn't or did get.
Yeah. Yeah. So like I said, I've never used the AGN question mark to have a whole paragraph resent. I'll just send another message. Okay, I got all that except for words after blah or words before blah.
Yeah, because you're right. If you spent 3 minutes or 4 minutes for a message to come through and there's a bunch of missing frames, sitting through another 3 or 4 minutes. Well, and there again, that's if you look at their signal report, if it's worse than a -15, a lot of times I don't try real hard. I mean, sometimes obviously, like I said, you can focus in on it and filter and so forth and
Yeah, I haven't played with any of the filtering stuff yet. Maybe I have to do that on some of the weaker stations.
this is Zoom session.
Whoever that else
This is the first
whoever
time
else it
I've
is
used
in
it
there
with
again.
this chat.
Close to you too. Or maybe it's an FT8 because it didn't decode.
What didn't decode the?
There's a big fat signal there right after the message was.
Oh, the
Yeah.
1600 falling off the bottom down there. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was. Maybe it's an FT8. It's not
He's in the
decoded.
wrong part of the
Seen
band.
that
If he
a couple
is.
times. I think it
Boy,
might
it happens all the time.
program's not showing all the messages. In view, I think it's in view. You can see, you can turn on and off
He's at
the
15 something.
messages.
Yeah, 1566. That's a bunch of guys in there. Looks like W5TXX talking
Yeah.
to WOEM.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, might be him.
And you notice how red that is. You know what's going on there.
Yeah, he's overpowered.
we were talking about pet peeves. That's one of mine. Learn to use the slider on the on the right hand side, because I've seen probably a dozen videos of experts saying, this is how you do it, and that's fine. But every one of them will have this thing turned all the way up, and sometimes
Well,
depending on your system, that's necessary, but not every time.
yeah. on my little QDX, little QRP Labs kit, you have to have it at full throttle, otherwise you get zero power out.
I believe that. Yep. And like I said, there's going to be various laptops that might not have just the most robust sound card in it or something like that. You're probably going
Depends on the radio too.
Yeah, that's also true. Yep.
I'm going to put in a little plug for the QRP Labs peoples, by the way. It was like $80. That was the kit with a case. You get 3 bands, all digital modes, and it's just an outstanding little kit. It was easy enough for me to build, right? And the documentation on the theory of operations that he gives you is just outstanding. Outstanding. I was able to, with my limited amateur radio skills, I was able to troubleshoot the radio because I understood what it was supposed to be doing. And with an oscilloscope, I was able to figure out what it wasn't doing. And it was real quick to figure out where my problem was. So highly recommend QRP Labs. Take a look at them. Cheap, fun. The radio itself is about the size of a pack of cigarettes. And I got a battery the same form factor. And the little battery will power that radio for at least 8 hours solid. No issues whatsoever.
Marry it with a Raspberry Pi and you're all set to go.
I'm telling you, I'm seriously thinking about getting myself a Raspberry Pi with a little display.
You put a you just put a little power adapter on the thing so that your 12 volts get shunted down to 5 for your Pi, and away you go.
Yep. Yeah. So, well, actually, the little battery pack I got, it has a 12-volt output, and it has a USB output also for your 5 volts.
Oh, you're all set.
All you need. I'm telling, highly recommended you go out and take a look at the QRP Labs and take a look.
Yeah,
at
I got one. I've got a kit sitting on the shelf back here.
Yeah. It took me about an evening and a half to build the thing, and the worst part was I didn't, because I'm still learning. I didn't really do a good job of tinning the enamel off the windings on the cores. And they looked real good, and it worked for a while, and then also right in the middle of the QSO on 30 meters died, just shut off. And what happened was the little solder connection failed on me, and well, it was a bad solder connection. Long story short, touched up with a good solder pencil, and it fixed it, and now it's working again. So
I was going to do something like that with a Raspberry Pi. I used to be quite a fan of Raspberry Pi computers, and I still have a bunch of them I got network drives and my ham clock and everything that's running on Pi. But yeah, I wouldn't mind doing a kit like, yeah. Yep.
I02W.
Yep. They're pretty awesome. I had some 3Bs that I had bought, I don't know, 4 or 5 of at one time because I had big plans. Yeah. Anyway, so I have them, so I used them. But yeah, the Pi.
So what do you use for a display on that Raspberry Pi?
The ham clock, I just had an old monitor, so a 17-inch Hewlett Packard monitor.
What I'm about to ask Mama for is to go out and let me buy one of those little tablet PC things.
Yep.
Right? Because right now the heaviest thing for my in the field POTA emergency services, whatever you want to call it, is the laptop. Well, that and the little I have a PVC air cannon for shooting a messenger up into a tree to drag my end-fed half-wave up into a tree somewhere.
Yeah.
Right. Those are the 2 heaviest things I've got. The radio and the battery fits in one pocket. I have a little micro key that my brother printed on his 3D printer for me. So I can do CW on one of the QCXs and do QDX for the digital stuff. And I'm out in the middle of nowhere with a battery, and I can operate all day on field days.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
can get
I've
these
had some-
little flat panel displays that run on 12 volts. And some of them are even touch screen, so you don't need a keyboard with it either.
Got it.
I've had some recent experience with a Raspberry Pi. There's a set of software out there called Andy's Linux. It doesn't work. The one that works is HAMPI, HAMPI, and it installs easily and it just works. I ran JS8 on it just fine. I have a HDMI to VGA adapter cable. It's about that long.
Okay.
And then I just put my VGA display in and a USB keyboard. So I've got a USB keyboard. I've got the USB for the cat control to the rig. I've got a USB mouse thing plugged in, and the USB sound card. I'll put in the chat a really great find about a very good USB sound card with a low noise floor that's only $8. Okay, I'll shut up now and I'll go put that stuff in the chat.
One of the nice things about the QDX is that the sound card is built into the QDX.
That would be nice. I mean, you could get the little, like he's saying, the little Sabrent $9 sound card or something, but QDX already has it in there. So yeah, I really need to look into that, because I would like to have one on 24/7, but I just haven't. I've got enough other projects going, and now we're looking at maybe moving sometime soon. So I don't know. Half my stuff's packed up and the other half of it is in disarray. But we'll get there. I may be we've lost a couple of people here, but we may be picking up another one for next week. It sounds like he sounded
Yeah,
it.
looks like.
So, and any of y'all that have other ham operators that go ahead and tell them they're more than welcome to come to this. I'd be happy to send them. About the easiest way is to send me at my Yahoo email or WinLink. Either one works fine for me, and I will get the meeting ID and the web link. If there's several people that don't really want to download Zoom and put it on a computer or whatever, so I got a web link that will work. It doesn't work as well as the Zoom app, but it does work. And so yeah, I'd be happy to have some more.